Good to see you again. And tonight on Culture Coast, I am interviewing the inspiring creative mind behind the Westcoast Black Theatre Troupe and your art beat for can't miss cultural events coming up. Welcome back to Culture Coast. This is our third episode, so thank you to everyone on Facebook Live and YouTube and humans 100,000 years in the future wondering what the greatest content in 2018 was. Thanks for watching. So we're going to kick this off with our art beat for events you cannot miss around the Sarasota area, starting with the Sarasota Orchestra presents Passion and Travel. This is September 29th, and romance blooms in exotic and unexpected places. Discover contemporary composer Bright Shang and his raptuously tuneful Never Far Away. Rapturous romance. This is like, who is this copywriter? Because I feel like I need to meet this person. That's some nice stuff. Then the Laramie Project is being presented by the talented students at SCF Theater. And this is a very touching and important piece of theater that you should go see. And this is being directed by Amanda Schlachter, who is a fellow redhead associate, amazing person. So go out and support SCF Theater and the Laramie Project. Then Suds is going to be at Venice Theater. It is at Venice Theater until October 21st, set in a laundromat. Suds virtually bubbles over with nostalgia, comedy, and more than 30 songs of the 1960s. Laundromat, Suds, Bubbles. Again, with these copywriters, they're killing me. I love it. So we also want you to get out and see Raisin the Musical, and this is at the Westcoast Black Theatre Troupe. And very shortly, I'm going to bring out here Nate Jacobs, who talk more about that. But this is a musical version of the play Raisin in the Sun. And if I'm not incorrect, I believe it won a Tony for Best Musical a number of years ago. So you really need to go out and see this. And before we bring out Nate, we're going to take a minute to thank our sponsors. So first, we are thrilled to have as our presenting sponsor, Elizabeth Van Riper, realtor with Michael Saunders and Company. Elizabeth enriches the real estate experience of her customers with her extensive market knowledge and involvement with Sarasota's diverse cultural landscape. And Elizabeth is not only a realtor, she is a fifth-generation fine artist, which is pretty cool. We would also like to thank Beautiful You and iStage Homes for the visual cornucopia of amazingness that you see right in front of you. So, I would like to introduce and welcome to Culture Coast, Nate Jacobs.
Hi.
How are you, Nate?
Excellent. How are you?
Good, thank you. I'm so happy to have you here on our new little show.
Thank you. You do such a phenomenal job.
Well, you know, I try.
Okay.
Don't we all?
Yes.
So I want to ask you a little bit about your performance career and what's going on at West Coast these days. So let's just start with, I know you are a fellow performer, actor,
Yes.
singer, writer, everything.
Yes.
Tell me, how is it that you were first bitten by the performance bug?
I was bitten my first professional job here in Sarasota, which was at the Oslo.
Really?
I came here on invitation of Dr. Cynthia and Henry Porter, who are natives of Sarasota, educators. They had started a charter school, and I came in to be the art teacher from college, Florida A&M University. I was teaching art, and then I felt these kids needed to be quiet in my art class, so I gave them theater to do.
Okay.
And fell in love with it, and so did they. And she saw me, the wife, Cynthia, in a class, and she came up to me and said, "You may not even know what I'm talking about, but you are what we call a natural, and you need to get involved with this phenomenal community. We have a wonderful theater here, and you are an actor. You're a God-gifted actor." And she took me by the hand and took me to the Oslo. They put a script in my hand. I read this paragraph, and they said, "Well, how would you like to be in a play?" She said he would love to. And there I was on stage at the Oslo in The Little Foxes, playing the role of Cal, working with these phenomenal professionals from New York and all over the nation. And that's when the bug bit. And I became an actor in Sarasota and started performing in all the theaters in town for several years. And that's when I kind of noticed the like of diversity.
Yes.
Me being an actor on stage and looking out at the audiences and working with the actors I was working with on stage. And I was like, okay, what's up with this? Because I had never focused on theater. I was truly an art major. And I lived in the art building in college. I was not in the theater. I brushed up against it my college career because one of my brothers, who was actually a law student, had a hobby. So when my freshman year, he was the president of the drama club. Think of that.
No kidding.
So he was schooling me around the school and had me sitting in the theater. And I felt this vibe, but I was never that engaged until she was like my professional theater mentor and really, and I was like, wow, this is fascinating. I had no idea that I would be called to form a theater company at that time. It's amazing, amazing journey.
Right. So then it transitioned from your own experiences into creating the Westcoast Black Theatre Troupe.
That came many years later. I was an actor and became a very popular actor in Sarasota. Everybody knew Nate Jacobs. And then I started speaking to the Arts Council and some other theaters in town about diversity. And none of them really wanted to cross the fiery stones to do a black show in their theater. And I couldn't understand that either. And a gentleman came to be an interim executive director of the Players Theater, and he called me in and said, this is the community theater. It should represent the community. It's 60-some years old. They have never done an all-black show. I think you are right, and I would like to support you. His name was Michael Judson, the husband of Jan Chester. A lot of people know her in the community. And he we went to the Arts Council. They gave us a small grant, and we produced the James Baldwin Amen Corner, which is in my season this year. I had to go out in the community and recruit actors for the stage. They had a very small budget. They gave me 1 weekend in their year to do this show.
How did you find these actors?
I went into Walmart and I was like, hey, did you ever do a play before?
No
They were like, oh
way.
yeah, I think in high school. And I was like, well, come to the studio. I ended up with 24 people on stage. And everybody was like, where do you get these people from? Because I was like determined. It was just like something inside of me knew this had to happen.
Yeah.
It just had to happen. And I had not planned to be the one to make it happen. When the guy said, well, if you agree to direct, and I said, I'm not directing a play. I said, I perform for this community. I know we have an extremely sophisticated theater community here. He said, well, if you don't direct it, I'm not going to produce it. Everything inside of me tells me I have to work with you to make this happen. So I took on the directorship job, and I was in the show, this first show, working with novices from Newtown.
Right.
All of them. My actors that people see on stage now, they were little kids at that time, most of them, who came from my drama program in the school. So I did this one play, and they came to me, Dr. Porter said, you may not know this, but you have created history in Sarasota. We've never seen an all-black cast on that stage.
Wow.
And then they went from there, like, do another one, the Players, and kept inviting me back to do these weekend productions of black shows. And all of a sudden, they ran out of funding, they told me, and they stopped the program. So I was back at step one. I got a call from Howard Millman now, who was now artistic director of the Oslo, and said, Nate, we want you to come back to the Oslo. We want you to be a member of the company. And I started back acting and sitting in a green room one night. It was around 1999, and I was acting and all of that from like 85 to 99 in this city. And I was sitting in a green room, and it's just like destiny spoke to me. And I knew, I said, oh my God, you gotta start a theater company. And I got in my raggedy actor's car with no windshield wipers, riding down 41 from the Oslo thinking, how can you possibly do this?
Yeah.
But everything, and then the very next day, my mentor, who was still Dr. Porter, called me. And he called me in his office this time. And I was like, why am I in his office? What did I do wrong? He said, what are you waiting on? Why are you going all over the community telling people to do something you have been called to do? And I kept thinking, why does this man keep asking me to do this? How can I start a theater? First of all, I'm an artist. I'm not a...
Right.
But I kind of finally threw that over my shoulder, really the complaints, and running away from something I knew was more than just a passing thought. He sent me to a lawyer. The lawyer knew I was coming. He said, tell me what you want to do. And I told him. And he said, well, I'm going to incorporate you. You got a tax exempt organization.
Okay.
And it's what you want to call it. I said, because it was the name of my church. I said, Westcoast Black Theatre Troupe. He said, okay, and I'm going to do it free because you have so much passion. I don't know if you know you have so much passion for this. This is my donation to you. And thus began. And so I had these papers and didn't know what to do with them and got an opportunity. There was a theater company who's not operating now called Theater Works. And the board president, a woman, a black retired woman, told him, Nate Jacobs trying to start a theater company, a black theater company. He needs a place to do shows, and you're asking me for donations. I'll give you donations if you give him a place to do his shows. They called me. I went in the meeting totally unprepared.
Okay.
And they were like, hey, you want to do a black show? And I was like, yeah.
Yeah.
They were like, well, what do you want to do? I was like, I'll get back to you on that. And they said, well, can you come back in 2 weeks and tell us what you want to do? We'll give you dark nights, Sunday, Monday night, to debut your company.
Wow.
And I walked away with no actors, nobody in my company but me. And I came up with an idea about the Cotton Club because that was the ground where most of our most phenomenal actors, Cap Calloway, Duke Ellington, Pearl Bailey, all of them, came from that platform. So I came back with the Cotton Club Review. And by this time, several of my students from the school program had gotten old enough. They were like teenagers, 17, 18, 19, 20. And I recruited me and 5 others from the school. And we debuted Westcoast Black Theatre Troupe. And the guy told me the night we opened, he said, look, nobody may not show up. He said, we didn't have money to promote your show. And I thought in my mind, why would you wait till opening night to tell me? I said, well, I'm not going to say anything to the actors. We'll just all be surprised together.
Right. Oh, my goodness.
And it packed out.
Wow,
It was a 125-seat theater, and we've been flying like ever since.
Yeah, so tell me tell me a little bit about this season. So let's fast forward how many years? 10 years?
Well, yeah, well,
And
20,
then 20
almost
years.
20, yeah.
Okay.
This season, I call it the command season because so many incredible things are happening, things I never thought would happen, but it just says something about the Sarasota community and how they believe in the arts and believe in artists
Yes.
and know how to support the arts. Command season, so I'm doing the Amen Corner, my first black performance that I did in this town. I'm doing Raisin, which was the first show I wanted to do at the Players, but I didn't know you had to pay rights to do
Oh, wow, yeah.
those kind of musicals,
They getcha.
and they didn't have the budget to
Got
do
it.
it. So now I'm able to do it, so I'm bringing it to the stage. So we open with Raisin. Then we do our Christmas card to the community, Black Nativity, which is a gospel version of the Nativity. And then we bring in Marvin Gaye, Prince of Soul. I'm bringing it back because it's one of our most popular original shows. And then we do James Baldwin, the Amen Corner, which was the one I did at the Players 20 years ago. And then we close with Love, sung in the key of Aretha. And who knew that she would transition this year? And so we're celebrating the Queen of Soul, Aretha Franklin.
That's very, very exciting season. So people can get tickets at Westcoast
Yeah,
Black Theatre.
westcoastblacktheater.org. That's R-E with the at the end of theater.
Got it.
westcoastblacktheater.org, and they can get their tickets there.
Cool. So, so thank you so much for joining us. So I want to close and ask you this question that I've been asking everybody. So what do you love about being in Sarasota and doing your art here?
A person told me years ago about Sarasota is a good place for you to start your company. And I thought one time, really? Not really. Because I was in the core and I heard all the negative things about the type of theater company I wanted to start. But the community,
Yeah.
as I said earlier, I am a black man in a predominantly white community who started a black organization mostly. We do work with all actors. And the community embraces it. We are called the Miracle Theater all over the world because predominantly white communities don't support black theater institutions the way we are supported. Most of them never do full, real seasons like we do or have our own building. Most of them still don't have their own buildings. They just vagabond around like I did
Right.
for many, many years. So it's the community, this special, blessed community that I am in, to have people believe in me, believe in a dreamer believing in artists who came here wanting to do something good, and they finally saw my vision, and now they support it, and that's a beautiful thing.
That is a beautiful thing, and it's very inspiring to me. I was born and raised here, and to see what you've been able to do from nothing is just such an inspiration for, I think, all artists in Sarasota. So thank you so much.
Thank you. And by the way, you are amazing yourself.
Oh, well.
I've seen your work. Yes, amazing.
Thank you. You know, we
try.
We do what we can. Well, so thanks again for being here. And
My pleasure.
In 2 weeks on Culture Coast, we are going to have not only another guest, but we're going to have a guest host, the dynamic Elise Rodriguez. Oh, and she's here. Say hey. Yep,
oh, wow. And that's her.
And that's her. And she's going to be guest hosting. So we'll see you then. Thanks for joining us.